Hey guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Sierra,
We're ladies.
and we tangent. I just want you to know that you definitely have taste buds under your tongue.
Should just look it up.
Yeah. Also, your upper esophagus, your cheek, and your epiglottis all contain some.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you, trigger warning for puke.
Oh boy.
Every time I remember I have a tongue and you're supposed to brush it, I brush it.
I know, but
Dude, the way
dude.
I literally flossed before I brushed. Maybe I'm fucking gross for that, but like sometimes I don't feel clean if I floss after.
Yeah, because it's like you just unlodge some shit.
So I do it before, which is extra gross because I'm like, that's thick and juicy. But anyway, so I floss, I brush, and then I'm like, better hit that bad boy. And so I start brushing my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready for the sounds, okay? Skip ahead if you don't like this kind of stuff, or just pretend you're watching porn. I don't know. But I'm literally going,
No, I know.
into the mirror. My eyes are beat fucking red, and I'm just trying to be hygienic.
Dude, when I was pregnant, and even sometimes after, but every day when I was pregnant, Corey would know that I would be brushing the tip of my tongue, not even like, and I'd be like,
I feel like whenever I remember you telling me when you were brushing your teeth, you were
it was horrific.
Everything.
I couldn't brush my teeth at all. Roof of my mouth. I couldn't even go too far back on my teeth without gagging.
I remember you trying to find special toothpaste.
Oh, I had to use watermelon toothpaste, the kid stuff, because it literally like everything made me gag. But now sometimes I just did it as I was leaving. Corey was like, "Are you pregnant again?" Because
no, sir.
No, I don't know.
Not me.
I don't think. No, I'm just kidding.
The reason is because I have a exploded. Is that the word we used?
Yeah, something. Definitely something.
Taste bud on the
There's
bottom
like
of my tongue.
Word
It's gross.
for sure.
Popped. Taste bud like this.
I like exploded better.
Okay. Either way, it's both bad.
Also, if you haven't been able to see or hear, I've not been well.
Ditto.
Yeah. Well, I'm shocked because you told me Jerry had COVID.
I had COVID. We're
Again.
recording on a Sunday.
Because
again, I haven't had it since.
Oh, that's right. You
had it.
Yeah.
I had it in December.
That's why I was so like, what the fuck? Because I got sick too. And she texted me like, hey, I just found out I have COVID. And I was like, that makes sense. I have been not feeling well at all. And Sawyer was first. That baby was sick.
Yeah.
And then I started getting it. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good. You tell me that. I'm like, that makes sense, Corey. You got to go give me a COVID test. I test negative.
Everyone in my house was negative, except
I've tested negative 3 times. But let me tell you, this is the sickest I've been in a very, like, even when I had COVID a couple months ago.
Thank you for coming to my house.
No, it's I don't think it's anything that's, like, contagious because Corey's not gotten it.
Yeah.
I have it because me and the baby have been literally, like, we pretty
passing
much
it back and forth.
Swap, like, yeah.
Yeah.
A baby sneezes directly into my mouth all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just a regular cold. However, I think my cold turned into something.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why.
Some sinus shit.
Oh, yeah. Like today, it wasn't anything that I just had another migraine. I almost was freaking the fuck out because I'm like, I'm going to have to tell her I can't do this. I was so sick. Like,
I don't know what I would have done.
I know. I told Corey, I go, you got to just let me sleep. He's like, Sierra, it was 2 p.m. when I got out of bed because I was trying to sleep it off. I came downstairs and I was like, it's not gone. I took Motrin and Tylenol, which I'm not advising anyone do that, but I had to. And I go, let me sleep a couple more hours. I slept till 5 p.m. And when I got up, we went to get coffee. I chugged a coffee and finally it started going away.
Clouds parted.
Oh, I wanted to cry. I was like, I could fucking cry because I was so scared. I'm like, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
I have to deliver a bunch of fucking information.
Right.
And I couldn't even look at my phone. It hurt so bad.
Well, I'll tell you, and these lights are bright as shit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, should we just say hi first?
Oh, shit. I forgot we...
What's up,
everyone?
Hello, everybody. So I had a wedding yesterday, and I always feel like shit the day after weddings.
Yeah.
So Birdie woke up at 5 a.m. because she was convinced there was something that she wanted to go chase outside.
Yeah.
And that was Saturday. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have a fucking wedding today. Birdie is being so loud. She's going to get the kids up. She won't let us sleep because she's like, hey, let me out. I got to go chase shit. Yeah. So, I didn't get very much sleep. I shot a wedding. I performed at the wedding. Okay.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Well, Sam was my second shooter.
Oh, okay.
And guys, I'm trying to convince Sam. I'm leaving photography. I think I've told you this before. But I'm still getting just an incredible amount of inquiries. If you are someone listening who sent me an inquiry and I have not responded, I'm sorry. I'm not even opening that email right now.
Yeah,
maybe that's a
lot.
horribly irresponsible thing for me to be doing, but like I don't have the brain space to do it right now. But when Sam was with me, I was like, what if, do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, we can still keep it under my brand and then I'll edit the photos. You just go shoot for me.
Oh, that would be great.
So she was with me yesterday, and at the reception, Don't Stop Believin' comes on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can't say no to that
And
song.
the DJ gives microphones to the bride and groom. And the bride and groom are running around the entire place putting mics in people's face. And I'm like, don't you bring that mic over here. Don't you bring that mic over here. And so Sam takes it upon herself to go up to the broom. She goes and gets the broom and she starts cleaning. She's earning her keep. No. She goes up to the groom and she goes, this is Jerry's karaoke song.
Oh.
And he turns around and he goes, it is. Puts that mic in my face. And I was like, well, here we go. I performed the whole fucking song. The entire song. The DJ has a video of it, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. My adrenaline was going. I felt so nervous. It was like one of my nightmares where someone makes me sing and I'm like, I don't know what to sing.
What are the words?
I know. Nope. But me and the bride are standing across. Like, it was a very Lizzie McGuire movie.
Oh,
she's over there, I'm over here, and we're just like, hey now, don't stop believing. It was a great time.
That's really fun.
Anyway, and then Ollie woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, and I kept thinking to myself, this is actually where I was going with the story. I'm so tired, but yeah, Sierra's delivering all the information, so I just got to be able to sit there.
I know. That's why I was panicking when I was like, oh, girl, you got to get it together.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my absolute best, but let's just say off the top again, we don't know dick about shit. This is not an educational podcast by any means. I'm going to deliver this to you as if we're all learning this together.
Well, I wanted to say that as well because
this is something I've never heard of, and I know you never have. I can almost guarantee
truly,
it.
I always feel at odds within myself when we do topics like this because I'm like, are people going to think that we are speaking over people? Right. Are we going to get things right? It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But like
telling me.
But even saying it's a lot of pressure almost feels like poor me, but like not poor me.
No. Yeah, it's just I feel like a pressure to do well.
Yes.
But also I don't want to pretend like I know everything because I definitely this was like
because we do have a responsibility as people with privilege to educate ourselves and take the time to educate others.
Yeah. So I used a lot of different sites. I'm going to be basically just reading from one. It's history.com. But I did a lot of
pulling from places.
Yeah, it's just a lot of, so that's like it's basically a summary.
Got it.
Because this is a lot. So I'm just going to do a basic summary. And then I encourage everyone, we will put up in the show notes where I got the information to go and deep dive into it because it's very, very interesting. It's so much for the amount of time that we have.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, I can't pretend that I'm an expert. And there are experts out there. So I encourage you to seek them out and actually listen to them because...
And if you don't know what we're talking about yet, it is Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And we want to do our due diligence. I know that we missed Asian Pacific Islanders API. We had already scheduled stuff out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we only can talk about specific things when it's their Heritage Month. But it is like a good refresher. It is on people's minds. And sometimes when, as unfortunate it is, when it is that time of the year, people are more likely to share things.
Yeah.
I feel like information is easier to find. Like Pride Month, it's like everything's gay.
Yeah.
You can find anything gay.
Yeah.
But like then... after all the rainbows go back into the bin and they're like, see you next year.
Yes.
So
We don't just want to do it, but it was a good time to be like, hey, we have an open week. Let's throw something that's important, a little education in there. Yeah. So we're gonna do our best, and by we I mean me. Mm-hmm. Before we get into it, though, I do want to talk a little bit about. I'm glad my mom died.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Before we talk about that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for all your responses about the mental health update episode. That was so meaningful and so powerful. I loved the continuation of the conversation afterwards. Mm-hmm. I am almost a week out from. I'm over a week of recording, almost a week of sharing it with the world, and I still feel no anxiety. I'm still very proud of it. I still am not feeling any it is so bizarre that whatever happened feels like a switch flipped.
That's amazing.
I don't know that it's ever going to go back. I'm not saying I've not experienced anxiety. There's stuff that's happened in my life recently that has brought things up. But like when it comes to that specific trauma and speaking about it publicly, when I know people are going to have access to it, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, and I also wanted to thank everyone for being so kind to Taylor
on
the exclusive.
Oh, let me tell you. She has just, we've had conversations. She's like, your fans are the best fucking people on the planet. And I go, I told you.
Yes.
She's been so, listen, we live in a small town and people here are not the nicest. I'll tell you that. Especially if you're in any way different than like cookie cutter,
stereotypical,
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very hard to like be who we are because we don't fit into that at all. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of her anxiety and my anxiety of like being yourself to the public, we have this kind of idea that like the world is going to be like it is here.
Yes.
And it's so not.
No.
I told her, I'm like, we have found this small pocket of the world that is just the kindest.
I think it's a huge
amazing
pocket.
I think so too.
But I think that everyone thinks that they're in a little pocket.
Yeah, but I think what we're realizing is it's way fucking bigger than
like
we thought.
Purse.
Yeah, it's like at least a tote.
It is a tote. It's a beach bag. Big old duffel boy.
Duffel boy. But like, yeah, she was like, I feel like a queen. They're making me feel so sweet. She wants to come back on again. She's so excited.
Sam said she wanted to come too. She's like,
so we'll definitely have a sister.
Little offended. You didn't invite me for game night. I'm like,
she invited herself to be
unprompted.
Yeah,
you can come next time. We will plan ahead of time. We didn't even know if she was going to be on camera until she got there.
Yeah, and I don't think she did either.
Nope. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun.
Okay, anyway, sorry, cut you off. I'm glad my mom's dead.
My mom died.
I'm glad my mom died.
I'm glad my mom is dead. That's not us saying that. That is a book by Jeanette McCurdy. She was one of the stars of iCarly, a show on Nickelodeon. And first of all, it was really funny how it happened because you posted on your story about listening to a podcast where she talked about it. And as I watched you post that, I was like, that's so weird. I literally just got the book and I was starting to read it. And so when I came here like 2 days later and was like, hey, I started reading that book. And Jerry was like, oh my God, I just started reading that book. I was like, what chapter are you on? We were on the same fucking chapter. It was wild. You finished before me.
I did. As soon as I found out we were around the same time, I was like, speed.
And that was when Sawyer was sick.
I had to put my smut on hold.
Yeah, I couldn't do much because she was sick and I was trying to take care of her. But I did get it done the next day. Then I finished it completely. Yeah. And I think we could probably have a full episode where we discuss things. But what I do want to say, because when I posted about so many people, I didn't have time to message everyone back who was asking, is that a good book? Should I get it? Blah, blah, blah. So a couple things I did want to say. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Should you read it? Because there were people that were like, I have this kind of trauma. Should I read it? I can't answer that. There are so many things that could be triggering to so many different people. For me, it was incredibly validating. I can't answer for you. I'm not going to say yes or no that you should or shouldn't. That's just going to, I mean, you know your own triggers.
Right.
That's going to have to be something that you like
I
look
know
into.
That the hardest part for me to get through, and it was purely because I have not dealt with trigger warning for disordered eating.
Yeah.
I have not suffered from any kind of disordered
Yes.
eating. I mean, I have an unhealthy relationship with food. I have an unhealthy relationship with my body, but to the extent that she was going into detail about,
yes,
I have not experienced. So, but it was very, very helpful to understand the mind of someone who was in it.
Oh, I'll tell you that it made me realize there was an aha moment I had that I told Corey where I'm like, this is something that I've never put together before in my life. It might be a spoiler, so I'm going to spoiler alert this and skip ahead if you want to read it and you don't. And also, again, it pertains to disordered eating. I know that I've had disordered eating. I wouldn't call it an eating disorder, but it might be. I don't know. I haven't talked to somebody, but I think it's an ADHD thing. I would just forget to eat.
Yes.
And then it would be 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. And then I would be
famished,
starving.
Yeah.
And there was a point where she talks about going to a eating disorder therapist where they say, you're basically starving yourself throughout the day. So then when you binge, which I do, then I binge foods that are really heavy.
Sheets.
Yeah. Well, just like really heavy, really unhealthy foods because you're famished. Your body wants that. You're craving that. So you give in. And then I would feel insane guilt and shame around it. I wouldn't purge, but I would feel guilty and like that there would be so much shame going on after that purging. And I would be like, why the fuck can't I just eat healthy? And it gave me like such a validating aha, like, oh my God, it's not my fault. It's just that because I'm not eating, nourishing my body throughout the day, that's what my body is craving.
And like, I also think that can go back to if you relate, because I relate to that as well.
Yeah.
If you relate to that more than you do binging, purging, restrictive eating, counting calories, things like that. I think it can be traced back to childhood in a way that's like neglect.
Yeah.
Not having someone provide certain meals for you or teach you how to cook.
Yeah.
And so like being a child who's expected to cook for yourself.
Or learn
but
about health.
Yes. Understand health.
A lot of times, because I tell my mom this, she says she apologizes all the time and it's not her fault. We lived in poverty.
Right.
We did not have access to healthy food options.
Right.
So I grew up developing a taste for unhealthy food because you could buy ramen for 10 cents.
Right.
And a box of spaghetti
and it was easy to make
for 50 cents. Yeah. And it was like we ate food like that because it was available, because it was cheap, because we could have a lot of it. And it was something.
I knew without a doubt if I was... I'm recovering more memories all the time, by the way.
Yeah.
I can remember now being at your mom's house now and the house that you were before.
Yeah.
And if I was going to be there, we're eating spaghetti or ramen.
Yeah.
That was it. And you're making it. Like,
yes.
Always. And sometimes 10 o'clock at night.
That's because that's when we ate. Like, literally, my mom didn't get home until 5. And then normally we didn't eat without her. So, like, if we did, we made ourselves a little thing of ramen, and that was what we ate. And then we would have spaghetti for dinner.
Big cereal girl over here.
Yeah, we did cereal sometimes too, but yeah, like that was what we cooked ourselves. And it wasn't until I was like well into my 20s that I realized how unhealthy I had been eating my entire life. And like, yeah, it was definitely a poverty thing. But get the book.
Yeah,
if you think you can. I will highly recommend it.
That I was terrified. The day that you saw my story, if you didn't see my story on Instagram, I shared Whitney Cummings' podcast with Jeanette McCurdy. The podcast is Good For You. And I knew what the book was about.
Yeah.
I knew she was revealing like her ongoing lifelong trauma that she experienced from her mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to read that. I don't know that I'm ready to read about childhood trauma while I am in the middle of processing mine.
Right.
And then I'm a very rip the Band-Aid person. I'm like, no. Yep, we're doing it. Like, just dive in unexpectedly. Almost like I tricked myself.
Yeah.
I didn't get triggered at all. And I didn't dissociate at all.
Yeah.
I was very much like you said, validating.
Yeah,
I'm reading this
tells
going,
it in a way that I felt.
Yes, because she writes it in a way, and maybe we should just make this an entire episode, or maybe an exclusive. I don't know. But it was written in a way from like if she is going back to herself being 6 years old, she's writing it from the perspective of how a 6-year-old would process it.
And also, you don't even have to have childhood trauma. It was so validating for me as somebody who had an abuser as an adult. But it was like, I can't explain to people sometimes how nuanced that relationship was, because it was like you hate and love someone so much at the same time.
Yes.
But the way that she writes it makes it like, of course you love them.
Right.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
But also, they're doing terrible fucking shit to you.
Right.
But of course you love them. That's your best friend. That is somebody who is bringing you so much joy and like happiness in your life. And it was the first time that was like written down in words that made sense.
Yes.
That I could see other
saying,
people reading it and being like, oh, it's not so easy to just say, just leave. It's not so easy to say, just cut off that toxic parent or sibling or whatever. Like,
leave that job.
Yeah, it is such a difficult, it's very not black and white. So,
yes. So if you were scared of it, we read it, and like Sierra said, you know yourself.
Yeah.
But I did fine.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Highly, highly recommend it.
I'll tell you. You know how I know I'm old? I can't sit for this long and stand up and not be in pain. Like I just tried to fully like put my leg back into standing position, and it was like no. It was like a creaky door that's not been opened.
Can I tell you something before we get into it? But like, I'm so proud of myself. Before I got sick, I went to the gym for the first time.
Yeah, I know. And I'm about tired of it.
You had COVID. But listen, it was such
I forgot. I was like, this bitch didn't invite me. And I'm like, I have COVID. Never mind. I can't go.
I know, because I literally was texting you to invite you and then remembered. Because it was right after I got the test. And I'm like, I should probably test myself before I go to the gym. But it's funny because I am really trying to like get healthy. I want... Oh my God, did you hear that? I say as I'm sick as fuck. No, but like, oh my God. There's noises coming from inside.
You better just like
my body
speed it up.
is like, don't fucking play. Like, you are not, bitch.
It sounds like you're about to breathe fire at me.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So, I just really want to I want to not only develop like lifelong health habits for myself, but I want to model them for my children, because again, I feel like I have the tools now, and I understand why my parents couldn't for me. It was not their fault, but I can now.
Yes.
So I want to. My kid eats fucking Lunchables like every day. I'm like, we have to stop.
Yeah.
You can, like, we can afford better food. Stop eating fucking Lunchables.
I was listening to a podcast for kids today, and it was like, this is for the grown-ups. Lunchables proudly sponsors this podcast. And I was like, oh, fuck, I want to be sponsored by Lunchables.
Okay. Lunchables are great, but he eats them like for breakfast.
Okay,
Like, hey man, let's get something that's fuel for the day. Like, I don't know if the fucking pizza Lunchable, it's the fuel you want.
That's the fuel I want.
Yeah. Maybe once in a while. Definitely not every day. But just healthier options is all I'm saying. Anyways, I went to the gym because I was like, I want it to become a habit for me just to go a couple times a week. Yeah. And I'm not going to have somebody to go with me every time. So I might as well just get this one out of the way. I know I'm going to have to eventually. The whole way I was there, this is why I'm like, I am mentally ill. My brain was doing everything to try to get out. Like, I was thinking, like, I could just go drive around the parking lot. I'll tell Corey I went to the gym. Maybe I'll go sit at Taco Bell. Oh, I could use a taco right now. Like, my brain was doing everything in its power to be like, no, you don't want to go there. I was thinking, like, what if I run into somebody there? Oh my God, I don't have my correct water bottle. They're going to make fun of you for the water bottle you have. You're not wearing the right clothes.
What?
You're not going to get it.
Wow.
Like, all of these things, my brain was trying to be like, don't go. Don't do it. Don't do it. All because I was nervous.
Yeah.
And even while I was in the locker room, I was like, maybe I could just hang out in here for an hour. Like, it was so, I'm like,
you just throw water on yourself and then go home.
Yes.
Like,
I thought
I am sweaty.
I was like, I have a sickness. Like,
yeah.
But I did it. And I felt so good about it.
What'd you do when you were there?
machines.
Sat in the locker room.
I sat in the locker room and I felt so good. No, I did some shoulder presses.
Okay.
I did this like rowing machine that I liked. I did this like cable. So there's these little cables and you pull them down.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
it felt
your traps.
Ooh, it felt good. And then I did this thing where I pushed on it with my legs. It felt great in my butt and my hips. Oh my God. I felt strong when that's like why I want to work out. I don't have any kind of like weight loss goal, but I definitely have I want to feel stronger in my body goal. And like, I felt fucking strong after I left there. I was like, you're a bad bitch. So anyways, I just wanted to say that I was really excited about that. And that was, I don't know what you said that made me think about that, but that's all I had to say.
I'm glad. Well, maybe I was talking about just how my body is rickety.
Yes. And I think that's why I wanted to go. Because I was like doing some shoulder presses and I was like, damn, these shoulders are not what they used to be. I was embarrassed by how weak,
how 30 you were.
Upper body was. And there was a man in there with me who was like easily in his 50s, but he could have been older. And he was just like throwing it up like nothing. And I'm like, sir, you are making me feel bad.
This is a judgment-free zone and you're making me judge myself right now.
Stop doing that. Okay, so
we're here now.
We're here. It's why did I want to say Hispanic Awareness Month? I knew that wasn't right.
Awareness. Are we all aware?
Are we all aware?
No.
Good. Now we're aware. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and so we asked just some people on the Facebook group, hey, what are some things you would like to hear more about? Blah,
that
blah, blah,
you
blah,
feel are underrepresented or not talked about enough.
And this is the one that we got the most. It is a big one, but I think it was really cool to learn about. So we are going to be talking about the Chicano movement, also known as El Movimiento.
Ooh.
Thank you. I looked up so many of these pronunciations, so we're going to hope that I can do them justice. Okay, so basically this is a movement that championed Mexican-American identity, and they fought for change. They fought for workers' rights, social and political rights, their history, and land rights, basically. So we'll talk about a little bit of each of those. So Chicano, the word, of course, was used first as a racial slur because white people, you know.
Yeah.
So activists then decided to take the name and switch it around. We're going to wear it with pride. We're going to call ourselves this, and we're going to name the movement after it. So they were advocating for social and political empowerment through Chicanismo? Chicanismo? I'm trying to say Chicano, but...
Can I see the word?
Nismo?
Chicanismo?
Yeah, the pronunciation.
Yeah, I would say Chicanismo, which would probably be like charisma.
Yeah, and cultural nationalism. So... There was an activist, Rodolfo Corky was his name, Gonzalez, and he declared in a 1967 poem, La raza, Mexicano, Espanol, Latino, Chicano, or whatever I call myself, I look the same. So leading up to the 1960s, Mexican Americans, obviously, because again, we're in the 1960s and we're in America, so they were enduring decades of discrimination, especially in the West, in the Southwest, because that was where a lot of them had like migrated to. And so after the Mexican-American War in 1848, there was a Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
Okay.
And that treaty basically said that the United States promised citizenship to Mexican Americans and the right to their property, language, and culture. Do you think they fucking did any of that?
Doesn't sound like it.
No.
And it, like, based on what I see now.
Yeah. Even still.
Yes.
Right. So, I love the way this is worded, by the way. So I'm going to read it exactly as is. It says, but in most cases, Mexicans in America, those who later immigrated, and those who lived in regions where the U.S. border shifted over. It's a funny way of saying colonized.
Yeah.
But
shifted over.
So it sounds like
it's like a weather, or like a cold front. Yeah. Oh, there's a shift of the border coming.
We just became, the United States. Okay. But I'm assuming that was after the Mexican-American War, but still.
Either way.
The way you worded that is like, you could have just said that we basically
stole land.
Yes. Because that's what we did.
claimed something that wasn't ours,
Yes.
like the rest of the country.
Yeah, exactly. But they found themselves living as second-class citizens. So there were land grants that were promised to them that were then later denied. And this impoverished many of the land grant descendants that descended upon that area.
Which is exactly what they also did with African Americans.
Yes. Well, and so around this time, obviously we're talking about the 60s.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Black Power movement going on at the same time that this movement was going on. So a couple of these, the leaders in both movements, the Black Panther leaders, plus some of the Chicano leaders were working together because it was kind of at first they weren't, and then they kind of were like, hey, if we get this, and I have a part where I'll read that, laws and things that were passed that benefited both groups.
Yes.
In a way.
They're better and they have strength in numbers, essentially.
Exactly. And by the way, this was a movement that it was many movements happening kind of all at the same time. But I think that was once they realized that this was some shit that they needed to go through, they were like, we're not doing any of this anymore.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times in the early 20th century, did I say that right?
Yes.
I thought I said earliest. A lot of Mexican Americans were attempting to assimilate or file legal cases to push for their community to be recognized as white Americans because they wanted to gain civil rights. And then by the late 1960s, they were kind of abandoning those efforts and wanted to blend in more and embrace their full heritage.
Well, I was going to say, it makes me really sad to know that there were people who were trying to be seen as white in order to be seen as equal.
Yes, to be seen as humans.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it was sad because there were generations of them that had much like we talked about with the schools that were doing it to the indigenous community, but they were basically getting rid of their culture and their heritage to try to be white passing because they would get treated better and
they would have more opportunities.
Yeah, and at this point, I think a lot of them were like, fuck that. No.
Right.
I want to be who I am, who my family is, who my people are, my culture.
And know that I deserve this
as well. Yes.
Yeah.
So instead of only recognizing their Spanish or European backgrounds, they now also celebrated their indigenous and African roots as well.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. I'm going to be breathing so heavy. It's just there's a lot of things happening in my chest.
Yeah.
So I apologize. The thing that kind of started the movement though was farm worker issues. So this was Cesar Chavez.
Okay.
So you know that name. I knew that name, but I didn't know what he did. So
yeah, I don't know why I knew that name.
Me neither.
Cesar. Yeah.
Or Cesar Chavez, but
I know it was Cesar.
Yeah, I know that, but I know that we if I heard it, it was Caesar because white people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta co-founded the National Farm Workers Association.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have the most trouble with the freaking
English
words. And that later became the United Farm Workers in California, and they were fighting to improve social and economic conditions for farm workers because Chavez was born into a Mexican-American migrant farm worker family, and so he had worked even as a young kid in these fields,
right?
And knew the conditions were shit, basically.
Well, yeah, and even now, I think that so many immigrants are mistreated.
Oh yeah,
and
it's still happening.
I forget the word that I was going to use. Just taken advantage of because there is this this message that they are less than, that they're stealing jobs, that they're this. So it almost convinces people that they deserve to be
there's a cognitive dissonance there where you're like, I can convince myself that you deserve this.
Yeah. Or hey, if you want to be treated fairly, then be legal. And it's what the fuck?
Yeah. These are human beings.
Meanwhile,
you're putting conditions on treating people like human beings.
Are you going to stop buying whatever they're producing?
No, of course not. And are you going to yell at the people who are underpaying them?
No. Or ask for decent working conditions?
Yeah.
Appropriate hours?
No.
Benefits?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, so in September of 1965, Chavez did that. He organized a strike for grape workers in the area, and it was a predominantly Filipino labor organization, but with the two of them helping Chavez and Huerta, they were able to win several victories. This lasted over 5 years, by the way. It was one of the longest strikes in history of America. But they won several victories for workers when the growers signed contracts with a union, and they were able to unionize and then get a raise, benefits, better working conditions.
Right.
And that was all due to them basically fighting for these basic worker rights.
Right.
I love this quote. So this is what Chavez, he wrote in a 1969 letter. It says, "We are men and women who have suffered and endured much, and not only because of our abject poverty, but because we have been kept poor. The color of our skins, the languages of our cultural and native origins, the lack of formal education, the exclusion from our democratic process, the numbers of our slain in recent wars. All these burdens, generation after generation, have sought to demoralize us. We are not agricultural implements or rented slaves. We are men." Yeah.
Damn, that's good.
Right?
And I love everything that was highlighted because we talked about that with voter suppression.
Yeah.
And all of the ways that they have tried to keep people of color from having access to their democratic rights.
Yeah.
And also to creating laws that then villainize and criminalize just things that are naturally set up for them to, like, the path that they are naturally set up to go down.
Right. And I forget who it was. I want to say it was Chavez, but I might be incorrect, and hopefully it'll come up. But I know there was a group of them that went around to these workers and then also registered them to vote, and were getting them like to the polls. And that was a big fucking thing as well. Like getting these people to understand what was going on and what would benefit them,
right?
You know, on a larger level, voting wise.
Right. It's so bizarre to me to think that there are people who would be angry knowing that there are people fighting for equality.
And they are
still. And it's like, I don't understand why people think that someone wanting equality would take something away from them or it would put them ahead. It's like, homie, I'm still trying to register for the race that you're halfway through.
Yeah.
And you're making me jump through so many more hoops that you didn't have to jump through.
No, but
you think I'm going to win?
They don't want, in their heads, they know it's not going to pull them back, but they don't want you to even be on the same, they want to be ahead always.
Right.
Also, I forgot to say, and I want to say, I didn't get to, there's just now a new, like, a lot of new information coming out, people who are like really studying this, but it's the Chicanas in the Chicano movement, so the feminism that went along with it, and for a long time that wasn't talked about. So that's something that I wanted to go into, but there's still so many, like, it was kind of a work in progress thing. So it was more difficult information to find, but I'd love to eventually talk about that. Yeah, because I think that was huge too. And there's obviously a lot that goes into that, but I want to talk about all of these separate things that are happening. So there was another civil rights activist, Reyes Lopez Tijerina, and he was pushing for land reclamation, which is basically like, hey, you fucking said this land was going to be ours. We're taking it.
This land is our land.
Give me back.
Our land.
Yeah. He pushed to reclaim land confiscated by Anglo settlers in violation of the 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. So Tijerina grew up in Texas. He was working in the fields as young as 4 years old.
Holy shit.
I mean, you almost have a 4-year-old. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Well,
you put him to work too.
I mean, he wants to.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to work in a field in fucking Texas weather for 8 hours a day?
Horrible conditions?
No.
No,
right. He decides what he wants to do when he wants to do it. But no.
So Tijerina, he became known as the King Tiger. He was the Malcolm X of the Chicano movement. And I think it's really important to talk about, like, do you remember learning about Malcolm X?
Yes.
But like very little, correct? Like in comparison to Martin Luther King?
Yes, but also in a negative way.
Yes.
There was a negative connotation.
And the Black Panthers.
Yes.
And what I wanted to talk about was
the whitewashing.
Yeah. The Black Panthers got shit done. If you go back and look at the civil rights and you think that laws and things only happen because Martin Luther King did a fucking great job. Don't get me wrong. But what they want you to go back and think is, oh, these people marched peacefully and this got that done. Nope. No. Fuck no.
Yeah.
The Black Panthers did shit in ways that maybe people nowadays and back then would look at as like not the right way to do it. But guess fucking what? People don't listen if you just do it peacefully sometimes.
If you are learning about the, let's say the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're in America, you're going to hear one side of it. If you go over to England, our UK listeners, what do you know? What do you know about the Revolutionary War? Like, how is it portrayed to you? Because I know that history is written differently.
Yeah.
And so, like, during the Civil Rights Movement, who's in power writing all of the documenting the history and then creating the books to then put it into schools to teach kids? Guess who was villainized?
Yeah.
Guess who was made to look like the bad guy? Guess who was made to look like they were breaking laws?
Yeah.
Okay, you were writing laws to fuck people over, and also you're hiding everything that you did.
Yeah. Not to mention, you know what? Again, I'm not even going to say that because it was against the FBI, but we all know what happened. All right. Certain people were killed and it was certain people. So that's all I'm going to say. But I think that's bringing it along too. It sounds like murder to me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's the thing. It's like you can paint it in a way that makes your actions seem justified and the other person's actions seem problematic, criminal, whatever. And it's like, only because you're telling the story.
Yep. And so like that, this man, sure, his group held protests, but they also staged an armed raid on a small town in Mexico, and they were trying to reconquer properties for the Chicano community. Again, maybe people look back and say that wasn't the way to do it, but it was getting shit done.
Yeah.
How are you to tell people how they should reclaim shit that you stole from them?
Yes.
Who are you to tell people that?
Hey, no takesies back.
We don't like it when you do it that way.
What?
Then don't take it in the first place.
Yeah.
So while efforts to repatriate land got caught up in the courts, they said it had this big effect in terms of mobilizing young people to understand the way the U.S. took land from Mexico and from Mexican landowners in particular, and how this kind of empire building was how Mexicans became part of the U.S. So even though maybe on a smaller level, it like didn't get a lot done, it like mobilized these groups of young Mexican Americans to be like, wait a fucking minute.
Right.
Like shit needs to happen. And that translated into this, which was the student movement to embrace Aslan. Aslan. It's Aztlan.
I keep picturing the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No, I'm sorry.
And I'm like, are we talking about the big lion guy?
I'm trying. Well, this was an Aztec empire.
Okay.
So, also, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was this group or the group led by Tirino, but they organized a walkout for the schools, and 10,000 Mexican Americans walked out, and it made a big change. Also at the time, I forgot to say that schools were segregated for Mexican Americans, much like the way that they were for African Americans and black people around the world from white schools.
It drives me insane to think about, like, once you have the veil lifted and you can realize that when they were creating these stories to be retold over and over again and depicted in media, it's like you had the resources to make the other guy look bad. That's it. You got to take whatever you wanted. You got to kill whoever you wanted. You got to create whatever laws you wanted because you had the power and resources to make sure that if they did anything back, that they were the bad ones.
Yes.
And everyone was going to know it.
Yeah.
But take the power and the resources away. Now what?
And it's only when enough people stand up and you get enough people that are black, brown, and then white, because a lot of times it's only when also white people start looking and saying, hey, this isn't right too, that then the people in power are like, okay, I'll give you this then.
Yeah.
And it like is ridiculous that it takes that amount of.
Well, you can't expect people who are marginalized and already like discriminated against to tear down the walls that they didn't build.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everyone who is protected by whiteness, essentially, it's our responsibility to fucking take those walls down that have been built.
Exactly.
We built. No, we fucking didn't.
That's why like allyship and things like that is so fucking important, because it's very much the same as when we tell people like, hey, men, when you see, like, it shouldn't have to be women or like female presenting people's job to tell you this is a problem. You should pick up on it and tell,
or to defend other.
Yeah, like fucking tell your fellow men. It shouldn't be us all the time having to say it. You should also, join in with us, or whatever the fuck I'm trying to say.
Yeah, could you imagine if 10,000 Mexican Americans are walking out of schools and then other POCs are walking out?
Right.
Or white people are walking out in solidarity of them, saying,
and
I'm
what? Sure there probably were some.
Right. But like,
you have to hope.
Yeah, but even today, like, that's the importance of getting off the fucking fence. Where you're like, hey, because I know
not
that
my fight.
Yes, I know. I understand both sides. No.
There is no understanding both sides.
Yes, if there is change to be made when you move with the people who need you to fucking move.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, sorry.
And again, we're passionate about this. When we say like, no, there's no two sides. When I'm talking about people's rights being taken away, I don't understand both sides.
Right.
So I don't think I'm a bad person for saying like no two side stuff. People's basic rights are taken away.
I am a gold medalist when it comes to mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
I have tried to understand.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so meanwhile, there's this parallel effort going. And so that poem that I read in the beginning, which was by Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez, he leads this kind of movement where he's organizing these Mexican-American students across the country to basically look into their indigenous ancestors.
Okay.
And during this time, they were able to identify a land called Aztlan, Aztlan, which was an Aztec empire. And in Aztec folklore, Aztlan was believed to have extended across northern Mexico and possibly further north than what is now the United States, the Southwest. Yeah. Again, shocking that we would have indigenous land there that didn't belong to us.
What do you know?
Crazy. And so the students embraced that land as a spiritual homeland.
Oh.
And they drafted El Plan Espiritual de Aztlan as their manifesto for mass mobilization and organization. So doing this,
God, like it is just bonkers to me as a literal human mayonnaise that like these people are.
These were students. These were young teens.
They are finding where they came from and they are fighting for it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what are we? We're fighting for what?
For what?
What we stole?
Yes.
Like, don't take it from me. Like, I'm
because
trying to collect
it from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, break it down. You're taking candy from babies, essentially.
Yeah.
And then when the babies are like, I want that back, actually.
You're like, how rude of you to even bring that up to me.
And they're like, but do you understand like the importance of that? Maybe candy's not the best analogy. Anyway, do you understand the importance?
Culture?
Yeah. Do you understand the importance of what you took from me?
This
what
is my heritage. This is who I am.
To you, it was land.
Yeah.
To you, it represented power and just being able to expand whatever the fuck pride you carry.
Yeah.
This was
who I am.
My being.
Yeah. And again, this is so like another pattern of, well, we like who we are as white people, so you should just be what we are. Stomping out people's culture because it's different than what you think is right because it's not what you do is like bananas to me.
Yeah.
That like bananas. So ultimately, the Chicano movement won many reforms: the creation of bilingual and bicultural programs in the Southwest, improved conditions for migrant workers, the hiring of Chicano teachers, and more Mexican Americans serving as elected officials.
Mosby, well.
Okay, so I have just a couple things to wrap it up. So this says the Chicano movement called for the Chicano community to be able to control its own resources and determine its own future. It called for community control over its schools, its economy, its politics, and its culture. The Chicano generation understood that as a part of its self-empowerment, it had to have a sense of history, a history that had been denied in the schools. Mexicans were not supposed to have a history in the U.S., yet the Chicano generation instinctively recognized that it had a history or a counter-history that needed to be discovered. This meant exploring its indigenous past, its roots in Mexican history, including Mexico's war with the U.S., the Mexican Revolution of 1910, and the history of Mexican immigrants to the U.S. But this was a history it only knew through family and community lore and not systematically studied by historians. So this search for a relevant and usable past led to the development of the field of Chicano history as part of the movement's efforts to establish Chicano study programs at universities and colleges.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Okay, and this is the last part that I have here, which is just a couple things that came from it. So, in 1947, a pivotal federal court case, Mendez versus Westminster, struck down segregation between white and Mexican schools in California. This decision had widespread repercussions as it was cited in the famous Brown versus Board of Education case, which then got rid of segregation in schools altogether. Yeah. Yes. I mean,
yeah,
was supposed to.
Allegedly.
Yeah. 7 years later, in 1954, in Hernandez versus Texas, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Mexican American and all other nationality groups were guaranteed equal protection according to the 14th Amendment. So that the justices ruled unanimously in favor of Hernandez by claiming he had been discriminated against by investigating the racial segregation that existed against Mexicans, and that helped, supposedly, all other nationality groups that were looking for equal protection.
Was the first domino.
Yes. The organization between the students organized groups like the Mexican American Youth Organization and the United Mexican American Students, and both were formed to combat institutional racism and discrimination at campuses. Voter registration, educational equality, and labor rights were the focus of these organizations.
It's bonkers to me that there are so many organizations created to undo the gross things that white people have done.
Right.
Like, do you understand? Like, do people understand that that's what those groups are doing?
Yeah. Like it shouldn't be. They shouldn't even have to be there in the first place.
That is not anything that should have to exist.
And the fact that there are people still fighting against them blows my mind.
Yeah.
How are we still here? How, with all the resources that we have, are there still people who are being able to be convinced that groups like this are bad?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, is that, like, as lovely as this movement is, as beautiful as it sounded, of all the progress that was shared, it's still not enough. It's not enough for any POC in any area.
Because so this says then that student walkout, because of that, it led to it formed the Educational Issues Coordinating Committee. And so they made demands then to the Los Angeles Board of Education, including recommendations for bilingual education and hiring of Mexican American administrators. And because of this, yes, there were changes made, but it also labeled these leaders as radical and militant, according to the FBI. So these leaders were labeled as radicalists and like militant leaders for trying to get bilingual teachers in classes.
What?
Isn't that bizarre?
And that is how whitewashing happens.
Yes.
That is how Malcolm X looks like a bad guy.
Yes.
That is how they get people to believe that groups of people who are wanting equality are actually just Trojan horsing all of their negative whatever behind bilingual teachers.
Yes.
Sure, they want bilingual teachers, but then what else? Then we're legalizing cocaine for 6-year-olds.
Well, and oh my gosh, we speak English in this country, so if they start demanding, they're going to demand our kids speak Spanish and blah, blah, blah.
God forbid.
Right. God forbid we want bilingual children.
Yeah. We are one of the only places that doesn't
have that.
Teach more than one language to our kids.
I know it. But it's like when I hear these people that are so against, they're teaching your kids pronouns. Like, yeah, that's basic grammar, bitch. They've been teaching pronouns. What are you mad about? You're mad because they're teaching some kids that some people have 2 moms and 2 dads? Get the fuck over it.
Shane and I went in hard talking about indoctrination not long ago because we're like, I got on Instagram today. Okay,
how are you mad? How
there
are you
is
mad
a
at
child,
that?
a 1-year-old child, posing with a dead deer, and I'm like, you wanted what? You want to say that having a book with 2 dads,
is indoctrinating
problematic
children
for children, but you're gonna pose your 1-year-old with a dead
animal
deer that your other kid shot? Are you serious?
That's bonkers. Not to mention, we're totally fine talking about Jesus and Christianity. And again, if you're religious, that's great. But I did not come up from a religious family, and I heard about religion everywhere but fucking church growing up. I said, but fucking church. Sorry. But I heard about it everywhere but church growing up. But that was fine because we're supposed to be Christians and blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, telling people that other sets of parents besides heterosexual parents exist is not going
heterosexual parents
is not going to do anything but teach your children not to be shit kids.
Yeah. I listen.
Who judge other people for the way that their families look.
Yes.
Like, do you want us to also tell them that, like, divorce? My kid has 4 fucking parents he talks about.
Yeah.
And do you think anybody bats an eye? No, because divorce is normal.
Yeah. Even though
I was never even married. So I'm just kidding.
It's not where I was going, but okay.
Where are you going?
I was just going to say that divorce is a sin.
Oh, yeah. Divorce is a sin. Yeah, divorce is in the Bible, too. So
is it a sin?
I don't fucking know.
Thou shalt not divorce.
Well, it says something about you're supposed to be with your partner forever or something, I feel. It wouldn't say partner. It would say husband and wife because
man
or wife.
Man and submissive bitch. Jesus said, take your bitch.
Butt fucking
your bitch. That is in the Lord's name. God. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know that there are people who are like, I don't really like how you talk about Jesus in that way. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It is funny. But I'm sorry. Okay.
We understand.
As far as I was concerned as a Catholic growing up, I just have to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then you're good.
And it's gone. It's like a whiteboard.
We just
wipe
that slate clean.
I just have to have a little bit of wine and a cracker and say I'm sorry. And then good
I
as new.
Good.
Good as new. Oh. Anyway.
So sorry to everyone who hates us now, but this was important.
I don't think anyone would hate us over this. If anything, like,
that's silly if you do. Please don't.
Don't be so silly.
Don't be silly gooses.
I will say, I mean, we talked about, was it I can't think of the name. Tulsa Race Massacre.
Yeah.
That's what it was. My sister works at a school that has a lot of the same letters as Tulsa.
Yes.
And so I was like having a tough time. Anyway, so the Tulsa Race Massacre we talked about, but like the way that it's portrayed in history is not the same. If anyone ever talks about it.
No, because
it's not.
It took until I was an adult to even hear about it.
Depicted accurately.
Right.
And so I think that putting this kind of information out there for people to have access to kind of, and not that we're like the pillar of education.
No, like I said, this was like you're like, oh, here's a basic summary.
Yeah.
And
this is the
please
Chicano
go
movement
look-
for dummies.
Yeah, but please look further and hear it from. I did try because I was trying to like hear pronunciations. I listened to podcasts. So many of them were just like English white people. It sounded like.
Yeah.
But there were a few that you like. They said they were Mexican American, but then they started speaking Spanish. I'm like, wait a minute. I can't understand.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm working on it. I am trying to learn Spanish as we speak, but
yeah.
Hey, if you're somebody, and I hope that none of you who listen are, if you are, smack yourself on the hand for me because this is fucked up. If anybody gives anyone shit for the way speaking in broken English, being bilingual is hard as fuck.
Yep.
So fucking props to anyone who can speak 2 languages. I don't care if you speak the most broken English I've ever heard. You know 2 languages.
Not only
fucking hard.
are you like able to comprehend it, you're able to change because our grammar, our sentence structure is so completely different.
Oh my God.
Than so many other languages. So then they're able to even like know 2 different forms of grammar structure.
Yeah. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I feel like such a loser trying to learn another language because I'm like, how am I this dumb? Like,
I know. Well, that's
understand.
why this isn't another ad for Babbel, but I think that's why the way that it's presented through like games and conversational stuff, like they have to make it. They're like, how can we dumb this down for the white people? Because my God,
it's hard.
They struggling.
Yeah, we sure are.
Anyway.
So I hope you learned enough to want to learn more.
Yeah.
Because that's my goal for you all.
That's
my goal for myself.
Go follow. Find if you guys have in the comments, leave creators or like content creators or educators, just people that you follow who are Hispanic, who you think are going to be who you think are good resources just to expose people to so that we can get more people of color in our lives.
And I'd love to learn more as well.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I reach out and learn these, I'm like, what did I learn in school?
Not a goddamn thing.
Honestly, what did I learn?
Don't you remember that's when we were first talking about the podcast, I was like, we're going to just talk about different stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like even if it was something we were present for in school, we definitely weren't mentally there.
No.
So we could relearn it.
Yes. And this wasn't even mentally there or physically there in any way, shape, or form. I think maybe some students learned about it on the West Coast, but like you shouldn't have to just learn history where it happened. Like if it's in the United States, it should be something we all learn.
Especially if we're going to be voting on rights.
Civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Maybe something we should learn about.
Maybe I think we will.
Sorry. My daughter... Her new thing she's doing is she goes, yeah. It's fucking hilarious. I'll go.
You're done.
I'll go. That's what I think of every time. I'll go, soybean, you want to go night-night? And she goes, yeah. Yeah. It's fucking hilarious.
Dude, I wanted to tell you something Ollie said because it was so funny. Yeah. And then I forgot it. But he said another thing. So, today he was playing the drums. Shane was playing the guitar. Forrest was playing the piano, and we started to sing, and Ollie goes, we all in a band, except you're old.
Fair enough.
God damn. And I started laughing, and Shane looked at me because then Ollie, because I laughed, was going, you're old. You're old. You're old. And I'm like, great.
Well, how about my son, who is 10, so he should know. I said something about like filling out my age, and I was like, you can just write my age down on like a thing that we had I don't even know why I needed my age.
Yeah.
But he was like, what are you like 42? And I was like, sorry. 42. No. I was like 31, and he was like, same thing. I was like, Jesus. Way to humble me. But I did go pick him up at school the one day, and another kid asked if I was his older sister. And the kid was like a 10-year-old, but I was like, yes, I am. Young mom.
Hot mom.
Yeah. Oh, Noah, is this your older sister? I was like, I'm his mommy. I'm 42.
You can call me mommy. Oh, well.
Yeah.
speaking of mommy, I hear Daddy Shane coming down the stairs, so we can wrap it up. Okay. So that's that on the Chicano movement, everybody.
Yeah.
We love you so much. Thank you for being here with us, and we will see you next week.
All right.
We're out.
Goodbye.